So you've just got yourself the new A7R Mark V and you are loving the way it takes photos, but you're wanting to do some videography with it and you're not sure what picture profile you should be using. So today I'm going to be going through the two picture profiles that I use with my Sony A7R Mark V. The first one being the one that I'm using right now, and the second is the one that I use for all the rest of my YouTube videos when I'm outside this room and what I use for all of my commercial videos, including the weddings. So let's get to it. Now the two picture profiles that I use with all my cameras aren't really out there as such, they're just pretty standard ones, but they get the job done. The way to access the picture profile on your A7R Mark V is by making sure it's on the video mode, then pressing the FN button, and you will see this option where it says PP off. You want to click onto that, and then you can use any of these picture profile settings you wish. The one that I use most of all is picture profile 7 or picture profile 8. Now you can have these set to whatever you wish and you can reset them at any time. The reason I use picture profile 7 is because that's set up to be S-Log3, and then picture profile 8 is an alternative to S-Log3, which I'm going to go through in a second. So to access the settings and customize any of these picture profiles, you just press the right arrow button when you've got one highlighted, and we're going to go through the first one right now. So black level I've got set to 0 and gamma S-Log3. The black gamma is middle and 0, as I said, fairly straightforward. The knee is set to auto for the mode. Saturation, I changed this to S-Gamma3.Cine and not S-Gamma3. Saturation 0, color phase 0, color depth, all of these are also set to 0, and then the detail I set to -2 just to soften the image ever so slightly. The reason I set it to -2 and not 0 is because I find Sony to be a little bit too digitally sharp. I would sooner have the footage a little bit softer coming straight out of the camera. If I need a little bit sharper, then I will add sharpness inside Premiere Pro or whatever editing software that I'm using. But obviously you can go into this and adjust these to suit. I know a lot of people actually use -7 for S-Log3, but I always found myself having to add sharpness, and it was just adding another step when it came to color grading and color correcting. I found that -2 was a good point for me to be at. So coming out of that picture profile, we're going to go to picture profile 8. Now this is the one that I use for all the weddings. This is the one I use for any of the footage that I'm filming when I'm outside of this room. And it's going to be footage that I'm using for any of my commercial work or footage for any of the work that I'm going to be editing myself. At first instance, it looks very similar. Once again, black level, I'm going to set it to 0. I want the gamma to be S-Log3. Now, the reason we use S-Log3 rather than any of the other gammas in here is because this A7R V, like most of the other Sony cameras out there now offer 10-bit color, meaning that you have a lot more capability to reduce the banding and you can color grade it a lot more and make it look a lot more natural. S-Log3 is the flattest color profile that this camera has, meaning that the shadows and the blacks are raised really high and the whites and the highlights are brought down before it even hits the memory card. It's also incredibly desaturated, and then what that allows you to do is almost capture as much dynamic range as possible, and then you can add all the contrast back when it comes around to editing. And because of that, you can almost treat it very similarly to how you would do with a full 16-bit raw image that you would take as a photo. Unfortunately, these cameras cannot capture 16-bit raw footage internally, so you have to deal with 10-bit, and then obviously you capture the dynamic range by decreasing the amount of the contrast before it goes to the memory card. Hopefully that makes sense. When it comes to black gamma, I changed this to middle and then +5 just to give it a little bit more contrast, give me a little bit more bottom end, so to speak. The knee we have set to auto like normal, but when it comes to color mode, this is where things are a little bit different. I set mine to S-Cinetone, which is a completely different color mode, to S-Gamma3.Cine. The reason I do that is because when I first started using my A7S3, that was one of the first cameras to have S-Cinetone, and I really like the colors that it gave, but S-Cinetone as a picture profile doesn't give you the same kind of dynamic range. It just looks really nice straight out of camera. Now I wanted to capture the same kind of colors. I always feel like the skin tones are much nicer with S-Cinetone than they are with S-Gamma3.Cine, and now I've realized that you could change the color mode of S-Log3 to have the same color as S-Cinetone. So it's almost like an S-Cinetone / S-Log3 hybrid. I've been using it since maybe about the last year, and I love using it. I think it looks much nicer than standard S-Log3, S-Gamma3.Cine. Saturation, I leave it 0. I want to add all the saturation and be able to color grade it as much as I wish in post. Now when it comes to detail, this is currently set to -1, but obviously I changed this to suit whatever I'm filming. As I already said, you can change this, and if you want a softer image straight out of camera, you can decrease this down to -5 or -6, -7, whatever. I know that when I'm doing the weddings, I do change this down to -5, but the reason I don't have it that soft now is because I use a mist filter. I've got a Polar Pro mist filter on my lens, and I like the look that gives me. It kind of softens the image for me. So I don't really go normally any lower than -1 or -2 when I'm using one of them. If you want a full tutorial about how I color grade any of my footage from this camera or any of my cameras for that matter, which use them picture profiles, just let me know down in the comment section below. And if you want to save yourself some time when it comes to color grading, I now have 2 look packs which are available on my online store. They've been designed for them 2 picture profiles, but they also work with the Mavic 3, Mavic Mini, and various other cameras out there. I'll leave a link to that down in the description box below. If you have any questions about the A7R5 or if you want to see more content about the camera, then make sure you let me know down in the comment section below. Subscribe and hit the bell to be notified when the videos come out, and I will see you right there. Thank you very much for watching.